My name is Jake, and I'm the developer behind Discord Lambda Pi. This project is an ongoing effort to port the functionality of the JavaScript/create library to a serverless Python environment. This template might be useful for anybody hoping to create a custom Discord bot capable of responding to slash commands without having to deal with the maintenance and the cost of an always-on server. During this tutorial, I'm going to describe in detail the setup steps contained in the project's README to teach you how to get started using the template and building out your own commands. Our first step is to configure Discord. This is going to entail creating the bot that will eventually be responsible for responding to user slash commands. The first thing to do is to activate developer mode on your Discord account. This can be done by opening Discord, navigating to user settings in the bottom right, clicking on advanced under app settings, and toggling the first setting. This will allow us to interact with the Discord APIs in the ways that are required for the template to function. After you've enabled developer mode on your Discord account, you're going to want to navigate back to the project's README and click this link here. This will take you to the Discord developer portal, where you can create a new application by clicking this button in the top right. Give your application a name, and accept the terms of service, and click Create. On this page, you'll want to make note of your new application's ID and its public key, as you'll need these in future setup steps. You're also going to want to navigate to the Bot tab on the left and click Reset Token. After clicking Yes, do it, you'll be given your bot's unique token. Also make note of this, as all three of these values will be necessary for future template setup. After you've created your bot, you can add it to your server by navigating to the OAuth 2 tab, clicking on URL Generator, giving it the applications.commands scope, and then copying the generated link. When you paste this link into your web browser, you'll be brought to a page where you can select the server to add the bot to. After you click Authorize, you should see a page like this. Now that we've created and configured our Discord bot, we're going to want to start building out the infrastructure behind receiving and responding to user requests. This is going to be done in AWS, so if you don't have an account already, make one now, and once you're inside, navigate to API Gateway. Once in the API Gateway console, you're going to want to click Create API in the top right, select a public REST API, and click Build. You'll want to keep these top settings the same. Give your API some sort of name, and specify an edge-optimized endpoint type. After that, you can create your API, and it'll take you to a page that looks like this. From here, we'll want to select the Actions dropdown and click Create Resource. We're going to call this resource Event and enable Gateway Cores. Then click Create Resource. Once you've created your resource, again select the Actions dropdown, and this time select Create Method. Select the Post method from the dropdown, and then click the checkmark. On this page, we'll want to keep the integration type as Lambda function, and since we don't have a Lambda function defined yet, we'll want to keep the Lambda function text box empty. Now that we've created the API that Discord will send requests to, we'll want to connect it to a Lambda function. To do this, we'll need to create one. We'll navigate to Lambda inside the AWS console. On this page, we'll click Create Function. Make sure you select Author from Scratch and give your function some sort of name. You'll want to choose a Python runtime. In this tutorial, I'll use Python 3.9. Architecture, choose x86-64, and don't mess with permissions. Then click Create Function. Once you've created your function, you should see a page that looks like this. Don't worry about filling in any functionality inside the Lambda function at this point. The template will take care of all of that when you push changes to GitHub. After creating your Lambda function, navigate back to the API Gateway to the API that you defined earlier, and under your post request, add the name of the Lambda function you created. Then click Save, and click OK to the Add Permission context box. After that, you'll be shown a page like this. From here, we're going to want to select Integration Request, expand the Mapping Templates dropdown, and click Add Mapping Template. Call this template application/JSON, and then click the little check mark. In this dialog box, click No Use Current Settings, and inside the template, paste some text that I'll make available in the description of this video. After that, click Save, and go back to Method Execution. This time, we're going to select Method Response and add a 401 response. Click the check mark to create the response, and then go back to Method Execution. Now, click Integration Response, and then click Add Integration Response. In the regex field, type dot asterisk bracket and then all caps unauthorized, followed by a dot and another asterisk. The response status code should be 401, and content handling should be set as pass-through. Then click Save. Lastly, we'll need to deploy our API. Under Actions, click Deploy API, and select a new deployment stage. Name the stage whatever you'd like. I'll call mine Stage 1. Add descriptions as necessary, and then click Deploy. After that, you'll be brought to the stage page, where you can expand the stage you've just created. Click on the post endpoint, and copy the invoke URL. You'll need this later. Now that we've created our Lambda function and our API, we'll need to create an S3 bucket for storing Lambda dependencies. To do this, navigate to S3 within the AWS console, and then click Create Bucket. You can name your bucket anything you'd like, and the default settings should be okay. Scroll to the bottom and click Create Bucket. Now that we've created our S3 bucket, you'll want to select your account name in the top right, and then select Security Credentials. On this page, under Access Keys, click Create Access Key. Select that you understand that creating an access key is not best practice, and then click Create Access Key. Here, you're going to want to copy your access key and the secret access key. These will be needed later. Now that we've completed the steps for Discord and AWS setup, we're going to start building out functionality within the template. To do this, we'll select the Use This Template button on the template repository, and then select Create a New Repository. Name your repository whatever you'd like. I'll name mine Tutorial. Provide a description if necessary, and mark it as public or private. Then click Create Repository. This will create a copy of the template repo on your GitHub account. This repo will be synced with the template on a weekly basis so that any development updates made in the original template repo are reflected on this copied repo. To start, we're going to define some secrets in this new repository that the template code will expect to find. To do this, navigate to Settings, and then to Secrets and Variables, and select Actions. We're going to add 5 repository secrets. Follow these naming conventions exactly, and remember that bot token, public key, and app ID are all values we got from the Discord developer portal, and that access key ID and secret access key came from the AWS security credentials page. After adding the necessary secrets, clone the repository so it's available on your local machine. We'll be using this local clone to make edits. Now that we have the repository on our local machine, we can start making changes. We're going to start in this AWS lambda.yaml file. This file defines a workflow that automatically deploys your code to your Lambda function when you push. On line 5, we specify which branches we should trigger the workflow for on push. Here we're going to specify just the master branch. This line gives you the ability to run the workflow manually if you so desire. On line 32, we specified the name of the S3 bucket that we set up earlier. In this case, that's Discord Lambda Pi bucket. And on line 33, we specify the URI of that S3 bucket, which is simply S3 : / Discord Lambda Pi bucket, or whatever your S3 bucket name is. Here we specify the name of our release file, or our dependencies file. We're going to call it deps.zip. Here we specify the name of the Lambda layer it should be uploaded to. This doesn't particularly matter, but for this tutorial, we'll call it Lambda Pi deps. And function name is the name of the Lambda function that you set up earlier, in this case, just tutorial. Now we're going to scroll down to line 84 and specify our AWS region. In this case, that's US East 2, and again, our Lambda function name, tutorial. We also missed one on line 23, where it's again asking for our AWS region, so we're going to again specify US East 2. And those are all the changes in AWS Lambda.yaml. Now that we've made those workflow changes, we can start building out functionality for specific commands that our bot should recognize. We'll do this in the existing testcommand.py file, and I'll make a command that responds to a /ping request with pong. Now that we've made our changes, we'll push to GitHub and allow the workflow to execute so that our changes are pushed to our Lambda function. If you've completed the steps up until this point correctly, the push to master should have rolled out an update to your Lambda function that completed within 1 to 2 minutes. You'll see that it's complete because a check mark will appear next to your GitHub repo. Now we're going to navigate back to the Discord developer portal. Select our application and scroll down to the interactions endpoint URL field. We're then going to paste the endpoint URL that we copied earlier from our AWS API gateway, and then click Save Changes. If you did things correctly, it should say all your edits have been carefully recorded in a green box at the top of the page. Now that we've set everything up, I'm going to test that the command we added works by navigating to the server that I added the bot to earlier and typing the command in chat. As you can see, the bot responds with a pong response as we specified in the command. At this point, you have everything you might need to leverage this template. You can keep building out functionality by specifying new commands, and you should reference the project's documentation for class references that might make those commands more functional. The documentation also contains instructions for using environment variables in your code and for using external Python libraries. Keep an eye on the original repo for any major updates that may require changes to your code.